Man, we're back. Oh my goodness, folks. It's been, if I'm counting the calendars right, it's been about 7 months or so since last time we were able to talk and speak with y'all. So we are very glad and very happy to be back. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to Black Friday. These are where these opinions are not for sale. I'm Christian. We got Chris, and
Glad to be back.
man, I'm just excited, man. I'm like genuinely excited. I've missed this for the longest time. I wanted to do this. I know I've told you how many times I wanted to do this, and we haven't been able to make the schedules just work. The schedules have been crazy and hectic, and we're gonna let you know why that's the case here in a moment here. But no, man, it's a blessing to be back on and to be able to do this again, because last time we did this, it was halfway through 2022 in the summertime, and we weren't even the busiest in the world just then yet. But things really picked up, around that time. So we unfortunately haven't been able to be back since. But we made time. We're here now. We're gonna make this a more regular occurrence, and we're gonna give you everything we got. We promise.
We're getting back to it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been a while, 7 months, lots of changes. Professional, personal lives, a lot of things going on, but definitely happy to be back. Happy to jump right back into it. Continue talking to people. Continue talking about these important topics that need to be discussed, and many more libertarian rants to come. I'm just excited about that.
And so for I know some people here they were like, well, where are these guys been? What's been going on? Well, back in April, Chris and I were both promoted to becoming regional managers, respectively, at Turning Point USA. We're very excited and very blessed to be in those positions. I'm now in the high school department. I oversee the whole southern part of the country, and Chris is over the Great Lakes region, and he oversees the heart and soul of America out there.
Oh, you know it. You know it. That's
So,
where the real America is at.
real America. So, Chris, so what are you doing now? What exactly, like, what's life been like? In the span of May till now. What's been going
Lots
on?
of travel, lots of travel, lots of going all over the place. And I mean, my region is not the geographically largest. I mean, Christian over here oversees you know so much of the country, but definitely a lot of traveling, a lot of going on campus, talking to students, interacting with students, trying to build up those relationships, trying to help students that are really trying to improve where they're at on their campus, trying to improve their chapters. It's just been a wild ride, but honestly, one of the best. And then also a huge part of being a manager is mentoring and helping lead a team of full-time staff that are trying to do the same thing that we are. And that is just something that is just so amazing to do. And I absolutely love it. I absolutely love the team that I have and working with the team that I have. And it's just been a blast. But what about you, Christian? How has it been? The changes for you?
I mean, man, it's quite the biggest jump. I just, I always envisioned myself to lead a team, and now to have it all finally come to fruition, man, it's such a blessing. But it's different, man. It's when just being a rep and dealing with your own specific area and a smaller territory and dealing with your students every single day. When you make that jump and now you manage full time employees, man, it's something else. It's really cool. I've had a lot to learn and to adapt to, especially with different personality types of people that are different than me, people that think a little bit different than me, or maybe act a little bit different than I do. I'm a fairly outgoing person with a pretty bubbly personality, and I like to smile, say hi to everybody, and have a great time. And some people are more reserved and more quiet, and they learn in different ways. So a big part of being a manager now is just learning how to adapt and how to make sure that we're getting everything done effectively and making sure that the team's on the same page. So I mean, it's awesome, being able to lead. And I mean, now I went from overseeing the southern half of Florida to overseeing 12 states, in overnight, and it's really cool. And it's a lot of work though, and like you were saying, a lot of flights. Flew to over 12, 13 locations last semester, and I'll be gone another 12 times this semester, just going all over from Florida to Texas to even to Colorado, of all places. I'm going to Colorado now, and it's really neat. I really like it, but man, it's been quite the adjustment, quite the jump. And so, I mean, we love it, but yeah, man, it's a whole different world out there. But it's awesome being like tasked with this, opportunity to actually lead and to bring up a whole region and kind of get to show like what we've been working on the last few years and like finally put it all to the test. So, I'm a really happy to be where I'm at with it. And I love my team, love my other managers and my director Nick. Shout out Nick. Nick's a homie for real, for
Shout
real.
out Nick.
Yeah, and it's awesome, man. I loved every step of it. So it's awesome, man. It's really rewarding. It is a lot of work, but the reward's definitely there.
100%. I mean, you gotta really count yourself lucky to be able. And I tell people this all the time: to be able to wake up and do a job that you enjoy doing, that you love doing. I feel blessed every single day that I get to wake up and do the job that we get to do. Because there's so many people in the world that wake up and dread the drive to work, dread doing what they're doing. No, not at all. I love it. I love everything that we do. I love the people that I get the opportunity to work with all over, the organization, even outside of our organization. I mean, we get to work with people all across the conservative movement, even outside of politics, community leaders. It's just such a great time. Absolutely love it. And I love all the places that I get to travel to, all the places I get to see, all the people I get to talk to. That it's just so many benefits, the position. And it's just, it's very fulfilling.
Oh, shout out Youngstown. Yeah. Places like Youngstown, Ohio.
I'm going to Youngstown, actually. Going to Youngstown. When am I going? I think at the end of the month. So I'll be there.
I will not be in Youngstown anytime soon. I'm happy to say that I will not be in Youngstown anytime soon. But yeah, no, I mean it's crazy because I'm a West Coast kid and now I'm just traveling all throughout the South, and I've like oversee it. So it's like I have to learn this now. I have to learn this geographic area, figure out what people care about, what's near and dear to their hearts. I mean, I have the Bible Belt for goodness sakes, like the legit Bible Belt here, like good Southern people. Where people call soda Coke, and
that's just a blasphemy. Terrible. It's pop.
See, that's a whole. It's just soda, and if we can leave it at soda, we'll be fine. But yeah, it's a whole different world sometimes, and even then, I'm people are starting to ask me now that I walk around here. They're actually asking me if I'm from Miami. It's like a big compliment because it seems like the Californians leaving me a little bit. So it just really seems like I'm starting to just kind of assimilate into the Florida culture and into Miami life. So I'm liking that. Really seems to be going well out here. So I'm real excited for it, but even more excited just to be back here, like being able to talk. Cause there's been so many things that have been going on. I blow up everybody's phones with it. And I'm like, I have to talk about this at some point. So like, I'm just glad that we're able to finally talk now,
Yeah. Come back and actually get into the conversation because so much has happened, in the last 7 months. Actually, so much has happened in the last month. That's just worthy of talking about and actually like voicing your opinion because the great thing about this show and the great thing about our conversations is that we don't agree on everything. Like we don't have to agree on everything. We can actually hash things out, and then we bring guests on that don't agree with us either, and we can have that conversation and we can talk about that. So which I absolutely love. So I'm excited to jump into it and kind of talk about some interesting things that have happened while we've been gone.
Yes. One of the first things, I mean, that's just most prevalent over the last few weeks is been the battle for the Speaker of the House, the battle for finding out who is the Speaker, who is it going to be to lead the Republican Party, with our slim majority in the House, into glory and to hold everybody accountable for all the horrible things they've done to us the last 2 years. And let me tell you, folks, they've been doing horrible things. Yes, they have. And we haven't forgotten any of it by any means. But the problem is we believe that a lot of these Republicans won't be doing anything about it and they might have forgotten themselves. And so getting the speakership here is supposed to be important because that's the person that's supposed to be giving the biggest voice out there, to the House to send bills up to the Senate and to draft legislation. And it means everything in the world. And there's so much on the line in 2022 and 2024 coming up. And so we're kind of at that crossroads where it's like bang or bust. And If you haven't been following what's been going on, Chris can fill you in a little bit more on kind of how everything went down over the last week and a half or so.
I mean, essentially, what you had is, it's Republicans did not have a supermajority in the House, and so what they needed was basically all Republicans on board for who was going to be Speaker. And you had 6 Republicans holding out. At one point, it was 20. You had, I believe, about 14 of the House Freedom Caucus members joining in on those 6. Helping them out, but also they were trying to get some additional things in the rules package. They weren't holding out for a different speaker; they were holding out just to get those rules in the rules package. But those 6 did not want Kevin McCarthy as speaker, and those 6 have my total respect because Kevin McCarthy is a swamp creature, 100%. He is the uniparty, the definition of the uniparty. He is Nancy Pelosi with better hair. That's all it is. There's no difference between the two of them. Exactly. I mean, I can start ranting about it right now. I mean, it's 100% the GOP letting the people down once again. You vote them in, and then they just turn out to be crap every single time. And, this is what we got. Everybody knows now Kevin McCarthy is the speaker. Those 6, unfortunately, they could not hold. And Kevin McCarthy did win. I mean, we did get some decent rules out of it, but what's going to happen out of that? Nothing. It's going to remain to be the status quo. And we're going into 2024 on shaky ground, and I'm not too confident. I don't know. Christian, what's your opinion on those 6 that held out? I mean, some of them being Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert. What's your opinion on that?
I think there should have been at least 166 of those. I think that our constituents, the people of America, we the people that voted these people into Congress, are genuinely unhappy with the status of leadership and how things have gone over the last 6-8 years or so. And we want something better. Kevin McCarthy hasn't proven that he can do better. He's had multiple opportunities here to do great things. We had the House, the Senate, and the presidency in 2016 to 2018, and all we focused on was Russia, Russiagate all the time. Didn't pass much meaningful legislation at all. And yet we come back here, we finally get the House back in 2022. We're supposed to believe that now that we don't have the Senate, we don't have the presidency, that we're supposed to put our faith into this guy that he's actually going to do something now. I have no reason to believe that he would do anything of the sort. It really seems like while his whole debacle was going down, he was getting humiliated every night, and I honestly loved every second of it. And I think it was very, very warranted for how the American people have been treated and how we've been trampled on the last 2 years. And he's trying to cut deals with Democrats and give them all these things because he just wants to get the vote so he can go into the office. I think he wants to position the power more than anything. It's become pretty apparent. Salute to Matt Gaetz and Boebert and Byron Donalds and Andy Biggs and Chip Roy and everybody that held out for the longest time there. I really do appreciate them for what they've done. But the problem is there's so many people that say, well, we got to stop this. We have to put Kevin McCarthy back in the House. Why? Why do we have to put him back in the House? The longer that we were in that gridlock and stalemate was the longer we weren't sending money to Ukraine anymore. The longer that they weren't wasting your taxpayer dollars or doing something stupid in the House that's just going to end up costing the American taxpayer more money. I didn't see a problem with it at all. This is what the purpose of Congress was for, is to stalemate and cancel each other out. It wasn't meant to just have a big romp and have them do bipartisan legislation to go screw you over out of your dollars. Whenever Republicans and Democrats get together on something for bipartisan legislation, it means they're about to screw you over, you the people, okay? When there's a bipartisan agreement reached, it means there's a loser, and it's not them, but it's us. Every single time, it's going to be you, okay? You're getting hosed, okay? Every single time. And so the idea that, if we don't elect Kevin McCarthy, there might be a Democrat. Then what? It's what we've had the last 4-6 years anyways. So what's it matter if we have a Dem in there anyways? It changes nothing. There's literally been no change ever since. Kevin McCarthy right now is getting bold with all these legislation proposals. Yes, ending income tax, abolishing the IRS agents, getting rid of the IRS. Incredible work. He's doing this, and he knows dang well that the Senate isn't in our favor, and it's going to die in the Senate, and it would die on Joe Biden's desk if it ever approached it. So he's acting bold and mighty now to appease the people right now that he's trying to do something, when in reality, he knows he's safe because it won't pass. Because if there was actually a time where we had a supermajority and we could do things like this, they wouldn't even present it. They wouldn't even think of this. So to act like, oh, they're really on top of it now, no, I don't believe it, okay? Matt Gaetz says the good things are coming and that Kevin McCarthy is holding up his end of the deal. We'll see. I don't think we can get a whole lot done right now, but if there's actually something decent here to be had, I'll eat my words with it. But Kevin hasn't showed us that he's a leader worth trusting. He's more influenced by people of Ukraine and the money and the leadership over there than the American people starving over here. Eggs are almost up to $10 for a dozen. And then we're just focused on, oh, he's got to win the speakership. Why? Is that really your top pressing issue right now? Because it's not mine. End of mine. I'm out with that.
100%. You're not wrong. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, are you going to continue to have a leader that loses? I mean, and this is another topic that kind of dips into it. I mean, the Ronna McDaniel as the chair of the GOP. Why would you continue to have a loser as your leader? Somebody who does not, who can't win. I mean, I feel like no matter what people think about Kevin McCarthy or Ronna McDaniel, whatever they think about either of them, why would you continue to want them to lead the party? Why would you want them to continue be the one leading the charge when they've proven that they are incapable of doing so? They cannot win. They cannot act. And, I think that's just one of the most despicable things is what you had said, Christian, is that they are now pushing these things through the House, pushing them through the House because they know that they're a DOA, they're never going anywhere, and that they can say, in the next election, well, we tried. Next time we have GOP in the White House, in the House, and in the Senate, when we have control over all three, I guarantee you none of these things will be tried because the GOP leadership is the exact same as the Democrat leadership. They're the same people. They love each other. They're friends. They care about each other. It's all the same. None of them are different. They don't have different opinions on things. They're the same. They just want to be in power, and they'll take turns every 2, 4, 6 years. They're happy to take turns because at the end of the day, they're going to become millionaires and billionaires while we're paying $10 for a carton of eggs.
I will have the bit of a disagreement here. I don't think they are the same. I think that they share similar tendencies in the way, because I don't think many Republicans, if any of them, really support all this radical left-wing stuff when it comes to sex education, indoctrination, all these crazy things in general. But I do think when it comes down to it, just like the Dems, they're not going to fight for it at the end of the day, and they'd rather cut a deal and just keep the power at the end of it.
So, yeah, let me ask you that question then, though. If you're saying that they don't support it, if they're not going to fight against it, what is that if not support?
They'll fight to a point.
You're not going to do anything.
I think they'll fight to a point. Some of them will fight. There's some real fighters out there. Louis Gohmert, that guy's a fighter. I love Louis. He's a man. He's a real fighter. I think guys like Thomas Massey, I think he'll fight. I think guys like
but I was saying Republicans in leadership. I'm not saying Republicans in general. I'm saying Republican leadership.
Leadership in general. I mean, the thing about leadership in general is, here's the thing: is with our people. With the Dems, what goes to their advantage is they always get in line and they always just formulate no matter what it is. It could be the worst candidate ever, the worst person ever, and they all just get in lockstep and just support and just back out. Bernie will take another bow and take another dive and just dip out just so that they can run another horrible candidate. Republicans, on the other hand, they're going to be mad because we're not electing Jesus Christ reincarnated, for office. And then we're going to have a big old spat about it. And in reality, when we get our leadership in there that we said is so principled and so great and so this and that, those people fail to act in reality of it all. We get that perfect candidate that everybody wanted so badly and they don't do anything. Yeah. I mean, and I'd say it changes when it gets to the elites. The elites are where they get more similar than anything. When it gets to Mitch,
that's exactly what I mean. It's just
more
like the Mitch McConnell and
the Mitch and Nancy's. I mean, they're pretty. They want to stay in power. They don't want to give up a whole too much, and they honestly don't want to change a whole lot. They're the good old boys of the system, and they don't want to see a whole lot of things done. They just want to keep things the way they are. They want to keep draining your money because when they die, they'll foot the bill to us, and then we'll have to deal with it. These things that they're passing right now will not affect them in the long term at all. They're not going to be here much longer. We will, and we're going to reap all of it, and we're going to have to deal with all of it because we let these things continue to happen. And now that you mentioned the battle for the RNC chair right now, It has been brought to my attention in the specific state, um, in the Midwest, that there are people within the state GOPs and state legislatures that are blaming certain individuals that are very close to us and certain organizations that we're very familiar with for trying to unseat Ronna McDaniel. And they're saying that we're the problem. Now, that's the craziest thing in the world to me, saying that we're the problem when Ronna McDaniel's been a problem for taking 3 L's in a row and nobody thinking that there needs to be change. Now, that's just crazy to me. How do you lose 3 big ones and people still want to keep you in power there? How does that make any sort of sense? There's no winning strategy that's been shown at all. And yet people are just like, you're trying to take her out of power. I'm like, that's common sense. When you don't do your job adequately, what happens to you? You get fired. It's normal.
Well, there's not common sense in politics, Christian. That's the thing. Common sense ain't so common in DC. People, they're just, GOP bootlickers at the end of the day, that they love the establishment. They love Ronna. They love Kevin McCarthy. And if you speak or step out of line, then you are a rhino, or you are, an extremist, or you're this, that, or the other. When it's just proves that these people cannot get things done. And, when they're like, oh, Ronna's the one, we have to keep going with her, or Kevin McCarthy's the one, we have to keep going with him. Are you happy with the status quo? If the answer is no, why continue to elect the status quo? Things will not change. I mean, that's the definition of insanity. I mean, I think these people are insane.
It's just mind-boggling. They blame everything for everything going wrong. They'll blame cheating the Dems, which I 100% believe that they do. This is going to get us in trouble now because I said so. In regards to elections, I generally believe that they do. But when we lose these things and we have losers that are unwilling to fight for these things, and we just take the L and say, yeah, we'll just try again hard next time and not make any adjustments, how is that going to win anything? It's the biggest loser mentality and loser idea I've seen, in such a long time. It's absolutely ludicrous to me to think that we're going to change anything by keeping the status quo as it is. Ronna McDaniel spends millions of dollars on private jets and retreats, fancy dinners and clothes, burns all your money, and then demands that you vote her in again so she can go continue to do the same again and to not change anything for the party. I don't understand how that's kind of a hard concept to think that some people might want a different person in there. They might want to change, a little bit of change of view here. Why is that crazy to think? It just makes no sense to me.
It's an extreme point of view, apparently. That's what they think.
It's crazy. And the thing is, we could argue with the baby boomer, we'd never change their mind because that's just how it is. And it's unfortunate, but eventually that whole class of people are eventually going to be out, and eventually there's going to be new blood in there. Unfortunately, I don't know what's going to come of that, because we're going to have career politicians from the next generation in there that are probably going to continue the same trends. So it's going to be an uphill battle here. But I think at the very least, we have to replace Ronna. Harmeet Dillon's in the mix. Mike Lindell's in the mix. Lee Zeldin was too, I believe. Somebody else in there. Anybody at this point, but she's got to go. You take 3 L's in a row, you got to go. There's no way.
And that's it. I mean, politics aside, let's just look at it logically, even though there's no logic in politics and people don't like to think logically when they're thinking politically. If you are not winning, you are losing. And why would you want a loser to be the one leading the party? It just doesn't make any sense. We need somebody who can actually win, somebody that's going to prioritize key states like Arizona, and actually put resources into them, not divest money and this wasn't only, this was a lot of GOP leadership, try and, put money against certain GOP candidates to try and, get their buddies in, get the ones that are loyal to them in, which is just, I think, absolutely terrible. I think we should not be using millions and millions of dollars trying to go after other GOP candidates. We need to be using that to actually go against candidates that are, I don't know, maybe trying to legalize pedophilia in schools and, mandatory sex changes and, these kinds of things. No, but we have to go and spend that money against people who say the election probably was stolen. That's the mindset and what people think in leadership in the GOP.
Yeah, the most dangerous person is the person that threatens their power, not the person that's actually like, not the person that's like, maybe we should do bad things to children, without parental consent. Those aren't the number one problems. It's the QAnons and the whatever, the names they just try to make up on everybody that doesn't go in lockstep with them. That seems to be the issue, and that's what they want to focus on. It's the biggest, most ludicrous thing ever. The J6 commission was the biggest farce and waste of taxpayer dollars I've ever seen. And we had so-called Republicans go in lockstep with it, and some people that'll still like, oh, I condemn it, and I think this is the worst thing to ever happen. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And those are people that you should not take seriously. These aren't people to be taken seriously whatsoever. And until the RNC decides that they need new blood and new leadership, I don't think we should take them seriously anytime soon either. Uh, Time will tell. We'll see what Kevin really does here in this next year and a half. Matt Gaetz is vouching for him right now. I generally do like Matt. He's a homie. He's a real one. But Kevin's a problem. And I think we've got to explore some options here, in general. And the state of affairs right now is pretty bleak, especially with the looming recession over our heads. Things are going to get worse before they get better because of how we position ourselves and how we continue to put American people last and just burn every single sort of good thing that we had going for us the last 4 or 5 years. So that's in the state of how things are going, and that's what I see right now.
Yeah, the country unfortunately is going to hell in a handbasket. It's going quick. We are not going to good places. It's going to be a hard couple of years. It's going to be difficult. We are definitely looking at, like you said, eggs, $9, $10 a carton. You have food is so expensive. It's getting to the point that people are having a hard time affording to live. And they're now talking about, let's ban some gas stoves and doing that. No one can afford a new stove. No one these things, like the policies that they're trying to enact and what they're trying to do to continue to push their agenda over actually trying to improve the lives of American citizens, like sending $100 billion to Ukraine when we have people here who cannot afford to eat. I personally think that foreign aid, when there are Americans who cannot afford to live, that is terrible. We should be using our funds here before they ever go to another country. Ukraine has to fend for themselves. We have Americans here struggling. That is not our conflict. It is not our deal to go there. And I know that we're getting off topic a little bit, but that's just the biggest thing. And that's what the RNC, that's what the GOP want, is to send our tax dollars, send our money, send our funds elsewhere while you have Americans here that are struggling and they're affording to live. They cannot afford to live. And love the banner. Go insane for Ukraine. Man, Kevin McCarthy, I think he just tweeted that.
I wouldn't doubt it. It's crazy. We have the southern border, impending crisis of insane numbers of fentanyl, drugs, cartel, everything coming across the southern border that shouldn't be. And our focus is to send over $100 billion overseas to a country that we have no business being in business with. But I think we are, because a current president has some business dealings out there, and some people out there that we have to scratch the back of. And I think there's other people that might be tied into it as well. It's really unfortunate to see that the lack of empathy for Americans here has been superseded by some frivolous care for who knows what. We don't even know exactly what's going on overseas there. People try to act like they know what's going on. It's war, and war is hell. You ask anybody that's actually seen it, they will tell you that war is hell. And people are like, oh, but we're this a good cause. You don't know what's going on out there. We generally don't know. And so many people try to make this out to make it like a Disney movie, like a Marvel movie, where there's a good guy and then there's a bad guy who just wants all the power and he's crazy and he's like, people think it's that black and white. There's so much more things that go into hand here. And just to go ahead and take the overt stance, just be like, yeah, Ukraine, yep, that's how it goes. Like that's absolutely ludicrous and that's ridiculous. And first and foremost, if you want to support them, that's fine. I can support people. I can support anything I want, and I don't have to send them $100 billion. I can tell you that much. I want to support my people in Texas that are living along the border. I want to support my people in Arizona that are living along the border, and people in California. These are affecting their livelihoods greatly. Bad things are happening. It's really, really terrible. People are drowning across the border. People talk about where's your humanity, Christian? I don't think there's any humanity with just letting this continue to go on while people drown across the Rio Grande River every single day, and they're pulling up bodies every day. It's horrific. It's absolutely terrible. There's reasons why we don't encourage these things to happen. The safety of people is actually one of those reasons. It's not reasonable. It's not right. It's immoral. And the idea is just shoot the money to Ukraine. I mean, what the heck? We asked for a couple billion for a border wall, and you guys sent over 50 times that overseas. I just the math doesn't math to me when it comes
It's
down.
almost like they're gonna get that money back somehow. It's almost like that it went they sent $100 billion to the most corrupt nation in Europe, and they're going to. I wonder where they're spending that money. I have no idea. We'll see. I mean, maybe that's how politicians go from making $100,000 a year to becoming millionaires in such a short time. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but all I want to say is if you think the government wouldn't do something, they would, and they would kill you at the end of the day. That's just the gist of that. And I'm sure the NSA and the FBI and whatever three-letter agency is listening right now. They're nodding their heads and agreeing. That's 100% what it is. Ukraine. My opinion on it is they have to fend for themselves. I think that war is terrible. I think that there shouldn't be war. I am not a pro-Russia person at all. Ukraine, though, is not where we need to be sending $100 billion. We have, even if you're not for the border wall or you're not for the border, you have to admit America is in a bad place right now. Our infrastructure is actual garbage. We just saw, just not terribly long ago, what happens when it snows pretty bad in the South. Hundreds of thousands of people go without power. People died because of inclement weather. We have hurricanes on our southern border. We have massive flooding going on in California right now. I mean, we have issues that we could be using this money to actually assist and aid Americans. We have veterans on the streets. We have just Americans on the streets. We have a fentanyl crisis, an opioid crisis. We have a drug epidemic. We had an actual, where, no, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say there was an actual pandemic, but, was there? That might get us taken off. We don't know. I don't know. All these people that are just collapsing and dying, though. Yeah, that's a good thing to bring up. But yeah, $100 billion. It's just going back to the big man's pockets. Who's the big man? I don't know. Ask Hunter.
Where's Hunter? I don't see him. Where's Hunter?
Where's the Parmesan cheese, Hunter?
Where is it? We don't know. Something else that I had noticed here is that it was made recent headlines. Is that the NHL is going off trying to increase their diversity, across the board, and in doing so, they're giving out this pathway to the NHL. And in doing so, they want people from diverse backgrounds to apply. They want more diverse people in hockey. They want the LGBT. They want Black people. They want women, minorities, and everybody else. I guess that typically doesn't get involved with hockey. The problem here is that in their job posting, it's like that's specifically what they want. And the governor has immediately, in the state of Florida, he's immediately slammed this. And he said that discriminatory hiring practices is not welcome here in Florida, and that we're not going to do that here. So he's effectively banned it. Other states, however, are going along with it, and I think it's the right move. In general, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, here's the thing: is sure you want more minorities to watch hockey, then go put it in the inner city and go do other things of that certain way. But when you specifically want to exclude a certain group of people because it's not politically popular anymore to have white people be a part of anything, I guess that's just it's ridiculous. It's absolutely it's ludicrous and ridiculous in the thinking of it, and just going backwards with everything that they do. It's absolutely crazy to me. You know,
I,
and that's one of
I,
the first things the NHL's done that's bad already. I could go on a list of other things they've done in the last 3 months that are ridiculous, but that's just terrible.
So I think if we think about this with the NHL and what they're doing, I believe the NHL is like 90% white, on average around there, like 90% white. Let's look at the NBA. How much of the NBA is black? It's about, I think, 75% of the NBA is black. Is anyone going to say we need more white people in the NBA? No, because we want the best players in the NBA. Is anybody going to say we need more, Hispanics in the NFL? No, because we want the best players. Are people going to say that we need more, I don't know. Eventually they could say that hiring people who are tall are discriminatory. And we need more short people in the NBA. No, because we want the best players. It shouldn't matter. We want who is going to get the job done in the best capacity. I don't care what color you are. I don't care anything else. Are you going to put on a good game that's going to want people to come and see? I don't know NHL fans that are going to come out and say, wow, there's more black people on the ice. I'm going to buy a ticket. No, who's going to put on the best show? That's it.
And this is how all these woke things always come down to when I see it. It's literally to make them feel good about themselves and give themselves a pat on the back. And the people that want the pat on the back are like those upper class, like white people that want to be like, I'm fighting for the cause with you, but like they're afraid to walk on the same side of the street as you. It's always those types of people. They're like, oh, we need to give them all the opportunity, but then they see, oh, the poor black people. Like they look at you in a different different type of light. And it's just kind of comical when you think about it, how these people like in general like really are that are like, why are they doing
when you
this?
think about
like, why are they really
that type
doing
of person, the image that comes to my mind is Game of Thrones when Daenerys is on the mass of the slaves and she just is like being carried through the slaves. That 100% is what I think of. They think like they're the hero of the minorities. Is like we did it for them. But the second though that they see or they're in like a sketchy area of town, they're gonna be locking their doors. They're gonna be afraid. They're gonna be calling the cops on somebody who's just jogging. I mean, these are the same people who are, I think inherently racist because they look at a different race and they say you are inferior to me and I need to help you. I need to be the one to help you because you're inferior to me. It is not out of their, oh, I love everybody. No, it is, they have a superiority complex and they look at other races as inferior. And it's gross. It's disgusting. And it's really unfortunate that this is like mainstream and multiple mega corporations and, organizations are putting up with this like the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, reality here. Hockey, why is it predominantly white people? Okay, because one thing is colder temperatures. Don't get me wrong, some black people live in the cold too, like you, Chris. You live out there in Detroit. It's cold out there. It's real. But also, hockey, in order to play, it costs money. It's expensive. It's one of those things, demographic, like it's expensive. It costs a lot of money. And when you think about it, it's easier to shoot a basketball in a hoop and go inside in a gym. It doesn't cost a whole lot of money. Take a whole lot less. That's why you think you have a lot more successful NBA players. In reality, it's easier access. It's easier to get there and then ball out. It's simpler. It's like any other sport. But yeah, when it comes to these things, like, yeah, they cost a lot of money in general. Yeah, there's white people there. Well, how do we, I don't know how you drive the cost down of playing hockey. Especially in this economy, it's not getting any cheaper anytime soon. But in reality, the barriers to it, yeah, I mean, sure, it costs a little bit of money here. But the idea of just saying white people don't apply just shoots everything you're trying to do in the foot. Not to mention this thing over their transgender hockey league they did in Wisconsin. I mean, dear Lord. I mean, I don't know what they're trying to do here and who they're trying to please, but I don't know if this is really going to put butts in seats. Like, oh, this is literally like you're going to see like a black dude like mopping up the floor or something, be all like, and everybody's going to give him a standing ovation. Like what? Like what? Like, bro, like what's going on here? Like,
I want to know how many transgenders were there that wanted to play hockey. I mean, it wasn't that big of a demand that they had to do that. I didn't hear about that.
They did it in Wisconsin. It was like a LGBTQ hockey thing. So they had some non-binary people and they had everybody across the rainbow spectrum, I guess, playing. And I'm pretty sure some people got hurt. Wouldn't doubt, because again, it's there's gonna be some disadvantages out there. depending on which way you're
That sounds pretty
transitioning.
big, Christian. I don't know if
I
you can.
mean, the bone grafts and the muscles don't lie at the end of the day. You call yourself
Are
whatever it
you
is.
saying that a 7 foot tall woman compared to a 4 foot tall man, there's a difference? Because was led to believe that there was no difference
There
between the
might be a
two.
difference in skull fragments on the ground when it's all said and
And
done.
teeth,
But
teeth. I don't think ice and teeth go well together,
you
honestly.
know, I don't think it'll pan out just so well here. But in reality, it's just like I try a different way to get people involved in hockey, but being exclusive just shoots everybody in the foot. It's like the idea is like, yeah, we have too many black people in NBA, like you were saying. Like they're not going to make less black people in the NBA.
Yeah.
Not
No,
that
they
they're not
push
gonna-
it as diversity when it's actually like exclusivity. And it is, no, you cannot be a part of this. We only want certain people to be a part of this. And that's exactly what it is. And that's exactly what they're pushing.
There's stuff they can do all the time. And I mean, and honestly, when it comes down to it, it's not even a race thing. It's just economic opportunity when it comes down to it. There's poor kids in the inner city, black and white, that want to have the opportunity to do this. If you want to host something, give people an opportunity, just post it in a location, let people apply at a job site or something. Make it happen in that way if you want to. Don't be like whites don't apply. We want lesbians, women, and Pacific Islanders only. Like that's absolutely ludicrous and crazy. You want to try to grow the market and grow this. It's just it sucks.
And the best way to do that is to have the best players on the ice or on the field or on the court. You can't do it with just, oh, yeah, we have black people now. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to go buy a ticket. They got black people now. No, that's not at all what is going to sell tickets. I want to know who's the marketing department for like these like sports organizations, because I don't think they're very good at marketing, honestly. I feel like it just makes people upset because the people who are for this stuff don't watch sports. They're not very they're not sports enthusiasts. They're not going to be the ones going to games. It's just it's very strange to me. They're really reaching.
It's just like the reality of things, like, oh, there's too many white people here. Well, if I say there's too many black people here, that's a problem, isn't it? If I say there's too many Asians in here, that's a problem, isn't it? Like the idea that you can just say it for a certain group of people and not the other, it's kind of a problem. It's kind of ridiculous when you think about it in reality of it.
It 100% is a problem. You would think that they would learn that, but no, not at all.
No, in reality, and you can't force people to do stuff they don't want to do. I wouldn't bet that there'd probably be a lot of people that don't want to play hockey, that would rather play basketball or do something else. Like it's just because it's simpler to get to and it's easier and it's right in front of them, and all their friends play it, and everybody that they look up to plays it. It's like simple.
Yeah, I mean, how many inner city kids can like name a hockey player? I mean, not very many. They are more interested in football, basketball. That's what's around. I mean, I really wasn't interested in hockey growing up, not at all. It's just not my sport. Wouldn't play it. Don't like to skate. Not for me. If somebody came to me and be like, "Hey, you're a minority. Do you want to play hockey?" No, I don't. I'm just not interested. Now, if they're paying a couple $1 million a year to play hockey, I don't know how much a hockey player makes. All right, maybe I'll reconsider. But I'm definitely not qualified. I'm definitely not good enough for it just because, the pigmentation of my skin, the amount of melanin in my skin, that doesn't make me a hockey player. It doesn't make me a good hockey player.
No, I mean, there's a few guys in the league right now. You have Evander Kane. I don't know if PK Subban still plays or not, but there's a few brothers out there, and a lot of them are Canadian just because they're played out there. And that's where you're going to see a lot of it happen. If there are going to be black players, they're probably coming from Canada, just in generally. Like that's how it is. It's where they're from, man. Like I grew up in a smaller city. I wrestled my whole life. Why? Because that's what we did out there. Literally, that's because of where I was. Like, wasn't biggest basketball place. Football was okay, whatever. But like I was a wrestler. My dad was too. Influenced me into what I was doing. It's the influences around or what shaped these things. I never really followed the NHL that hard. Why? Because I don't know, the San Jose Sharks weren't always that great, so I just didn't really watch it a whole lot. But oh, dude, I love watching Barry Bonds in baseball. Sure, watching Donovan McNabb playing for the Eagles. Like all these guys play, yeah, because they were good and they were fun to watch. Man, they were some of the greatest athletes of the time. They were good. And that's what it should be. But yeah, in regards to this is just going as far as like hiring them just to like work jobs. And I'm like, you can't literally like post a job description on LinkedIn and just be all like whites need not apply. Like we're not going back to this Alexander Hamilton thing again. Dear Lord. We're not
And
we're not
that's
doing
what they want to do. They want to go back to, the exclusivity and the segregation. I mean, that's the goal is these like self-hating white people that are like, we are evil. We need to be separate. Which at the end of the day, I don't think it's self-hate. I think, again, it is just looking down on other races and saying they're inferior to us. And it makes me feel better to like make them feel better. It's just some weird like way to think. It really is. It's just like demented. But so many of them think that way. So many of them view other races that way. People of other skin tones, other colors that way. That they are inherently inferior, and white people they see that they're not saying white people see that, saying that those people who are white that think this way, they see white people as superior, which is again absolutely disgusting, and it's just ridiculous. But that's what they're pushing, and that the NHL is backing that apparently. And let's see how many more tickets they sell because of this.
I mean, it's just like, is it really going to boost? If it boosts numbers in any demographic, whose numbers of demographic it's going to boost? White people. It's going to boost white demographics because white people are like, oh, they're more inclusive now. I want to go. Like literally, it makes them feel good without actually creating change so that they get more of those people to attend. It's the craziest thing. It's the help the poor minority, be the savior. And then like they feel good about themselves, pat themselves on the back. Like, okay, I'll go watch NHL now and feel less guilty. Like it's crazy. But that's literally like, that's how I see why they do these things. Because in reality, it's not like black people see this happening. I'm gonna go watch the NHL now. Like, nah, man, ain't nobody doing none of that. Like, nobody.
Yeah, no, they're gonna be like, I'm still gonna watch the NBA. I'm still gonna watch the NFL. I'm not like I'm not interested in hockey. I mean, that's just gonna be the way that they think. But I mean, it's an interesting, just an interesting time we live in. That this is what we care about. I mean, in my opinion, bigger issues like that people could really like focus on. But the NHL wants to focus on, there's not enough diversity in our league. We have to do this. I mean, they could really try and like do some sort of humanitarian effort. Like, hey, a portion of our proceeds is going to go to, inner city youth to try and get them into hockey, or we're going to do this, that, or the other, or, something rather than say white people bad.
Yeah. And I'm sure they do direct those efforts already. Like, I'm sure they do things like that, but I'm like, focus more of the effort in regards to something like that there than just be like, we just want to hire like people that are check off the marginalized, like, checklist here so that we feel good and then just go off to, because like, that's all it is at the end of the day. That's what it's showing is you're just filling out the checklist here for what we're looking for more than anything else. And it's like, I feel like I'm more than a checklist. I want to feel like I got this job just because of my immutable characteristics and things that I can't change, or because of my sexual preference or deviancies that I have. I don't think that's a precursor for anything good or bad necessarily. That's just ridiculous. So it's like, actual things that actually make good candidates and good people that you want to hire, not just, they check the box. So let's get into that. Something that has been the hot topic for the past week that has gotten a lot of people emotional, really worked up. I'm sure when people see this, they're going to be like, what in the world is going on? But the topic of pit bulls and ownership, and is it safe? Should it be allowed? Should it be banned? It got a whole lot of steam on Twitter this past week because Matt Walsh from the Daily Wire, if you're not familiar, he's the guy who made the What is a Woman documentary, and he dropped a tweet. I'll share it right here so everybody can see it, saying that pit bulls should be banned, and there's no sane argument to the contrary. They're dangerous animals responsible for a vastly disproportionate number of fatal maulings in this country. The fact that you think they're cute does not outweigh the danger. Ban them. And there's nothing crazier than a whole bunch of pit bull mamas on Twitter and everywhere else that are up in arms that are, how could you say such a thing? That's just not true. This is crazy. This is that. And it's kind of wild to see because People won't speak up about many things all of a sudden, but when you talk about a dog, then everybody like gets up in arms and everybody wants to fight. And it's kind of like that's like that's the straw that broke the camel's back. You could say anything about anybody and anything else, but you talk about the pit bulls, and it's like it's not their fault, and you get into that whole mess with it. And it's quite interesting. I mean, Matt's take is wild, man. He's always been one for the bold takes, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Not me particularly. I could care either way.
It rubs me the wrong way, not because I care about pit bulls. I don't care about pit bulls. I care that he's trying to say the government should be able to ban things. Come on, Matt Walsh, like grow a pair. If somebody wants to own a pit bull, they should be able to own a pit bull.
Why?
I should be able to own.
Why?
Because why should the government be able to tell me I can't?
Because there's bad things in life that are not good for you that we have to actually stop. Like
guns, Christian, are guns bad for you? There are going to be people who say guns are bad.
Actually like bad things that are like harmful to children. That like numbers.
I think guns have killed some children.
No, but the thing is, a pit bull has a mind of its own, and it's not just an inanimate object. So I would say it can't be exactly comparable.
Well, people hurt children. Should we not allow people around children? Should
certain people are not allowed around children because there's government orders to not let people around children.
Obviously, those people have actually already hurt children. You are saying that we should ban animals that have never done anything. These are innocent animals. I understand. Yes, pit bulls. If you look at the data, they are mauling children at quite a rate compared to other dogs. But the government should not tell me what I can't own. Now, if my dog does hurt somebody, then I should be liable. If that would be the same thing as if my property, if I owned a building and it collapsed and I killed people, or my car exploded, that is my fault. I should be liable for those things. Same thing is with my pets. I think all these people who are up in arms about you can't ban my dog. Okay, I've had dogs before. I know what it's like. They're like a family member. I wouldn't want anyone to ban my dog. And I'm not saying that the government should ban pit bulls. I really don't care. I have a child. I'm not going to bring my child around pit bulls. And I keep myself prepared that if something were to happen, I could defend my family. And I think people should do that. And 100%, if a dog attacks your child, put it down. No questions asked. Dog bites somebody. Yeah, I don't think that dog has, should get too many chances. But should they be banned? No, not at all. I don't think so.
I mean, all right. It's just one of those things. Do you think there should be a concession where if you own small children, you shouldn't have one? If you have small children,
should they have them? Probably not. But should the government come and take your dog if you have a baby? No, I don't think so. There shouldn't be a pit bull registry. I don't think that.
It's a problem, though, wouldn't you say? The numbers and data pretty much show that these are aggressive breed of dogs that are disproportionately mauling toddlers, generally from the ages of 0 to 4, at a higher rate than the next, which is a Rottweiler, and they're like 60% lower than what the pit bulls are mauling, people at. I'd say like that's kind of it's alarming. I'd say the numbers. You can't say the numbers aren't alarming here,
I'm not saying that they're not alarming, but I'm saying that government is not the solution. That's not the way to go. I think
what if local governments banned them? Because local governments banned them in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken here.
And what has the local government in Detroit, Christian, done correctly in the last, 60 years? Nothing. Look at Detroit. There are potholes that swallow cars, and they cared about
that might be one thing that's done right. Maybe that's what
I'm just saying that local governments doesn't get it right all the time. I don't think that the government should tell you that you can and can't own a dog. Even if it's local government, I feel like it's your right if you want to have a dog. Now, if they want to say, oh, you can't bring this dog to the dog park, that's public property. That's okay. That's I think respectable. If your dog or the dog breed is seen to be dangerous, or the data shows, okay, you can't bring it to the dog park, or you can't bring it to the park. I understand that. Okay, take it somewhere else. Take your dog to a different dog park. Go to the next town over. Like that, I can understand. Again, it shouldn't be like a massive ban, like statist Matt Walsh is over here saying ban the pit bulls.
He makes
It's,
interesting cases for it because at the crux of it all, it's not about the government, it's about people. And that's more so what he's advocating more than ever. It's like protecting children, protecting kids, you know.
And you know what? That argument sounds very much like, guys, we just got to get that the little jabby pokey poke.
No, no, of
We got to
course.
protect the kids, Christian. We got to protect the kids. That it's not about the government. It's not about anything like
Well,
that. It's
we
just
can
about
we can
the
argue
kids.
numbers of the COVID vaccine and numbers of pit bulls mauling children anytime you want, but like if we're looking respectively here, like,
But the
dude,
argument is the same. The
is it?
argument is the same. People should be able to make their own choices. If the local government says, "Hey, you can't bring your dog to the local dog park. You can't bring it to public areas. You can't walk it on the busy
I
streets
I think it's a
because
slippery
these things
slope.
have happened in the past." That's respectful and that's fine. But they can't say you can't have a dog in your house.
A pit bull in your house, we should say. I
Okay, but how far until they say, "Oh no, they're all dangerous"?
yeah,
Everyone
as
gets a
far as like
gerbil.
I get
That's
to
all
have
he can
what I
have.
want to have, but as far as like saying I get to have what I want to have, and the government shouldn't tell me I can't, then that goes down the slippery slope of all right, so it's dogs,
Of
and it's
freedom,
like
Christian.
you're saying,
The
dude, like
slippery slope of
dogs,
freedom.
alligators, lions, drugs. Okay,
Why
drugs. We
can't I
all, we all
have?
know it goes to
Okay,
drugs. We all know it
we're
goes to
asking
under
good
drugs.
questions here,
It always goes to
Christian.
drugs.
We're asking good questions as the token libertarian. Why can't I have like a bobcat? If in my home again, if the government was like, you can't bring it outside, what's wrong with you? Okay, but I want it in my house. It's my house. I should be able to have it in my house. Leave me alone. I should be able to have that. And a pit bull is, I feel like if you train and raise your pit bull well, you'll have no issues.
I mean, there's certain aspects where like that's the case a lot of times, but there's a few times when that's not the case, where pit bulls have just turned on families and started mauling kids. Like after having the dog for years and treating it very well, and the dog just snaps one day and just goes on a rampage, and it's happened unfortunately. And I'd be heartbroken if those are my children that had ever got mauled with it. And I'm just like, now we can't even say like, oh, if you raise the dog right, because that even if you raise the damn dog right, he could just chomp you up. Like I'm like,
But
man, that
even
has
in
to
those cases, I'd like to see like how they actually treated the dog. And obviously, we can't go back and watch every minute that they've ever
yeah.
interacted with the dog or how the children interacted with the dog. But that would be something that I'd like to see. I mean, again, I've owned dogs. I've never owned a pit bull, but I've owned dogs,
Mhm.
and they can think. They're sentient creatures. You piss off a dog, it's gonna bite you. I mean, it's just how it is. That dogs don't just like. I mean, well, unless they have something wrong with them, they're not gonna just like go eat a baby unless they're violent dogs that were raised violent. Like dogs just aren't like that. They have to have something wrong with them, like being raised violent, being beaten, and so many pit bulls are raised like that and are beaten and have that happen to them. So I'm just saying that I think an outright pit bull ban is not the way to go. I think people, if I'm a parent, I wouldn't own a pit bull. I'm not eating the baby, or I'm not having the baby eating brand or a baby eating breed in my house when I have a child. Like I just feel like that's irresponsible. But if you want to have a pit bull on your own, then go have a pit bull. Have a great time.
Yeah. I have to play the devil's advocate here because we have to make some good content for everybody to see here.
I mean, hey, I'm all for it. I think that
We
this is
got
a
to
good
have it, but
conversation.
it's interesting questions, like things you got to think of here. And when it comes down to this, is what I see is people will go harder for animals than they will for actual human beings, and that part is what I don't like, and that kind of disappoints me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes down to it, when we think of things where it's like, if you went just as hard for this for some other issue in regards to children at schools that are getting sexualized or the unborn or any other topic, and then it's the pit bulls and everybody's ready to fight. I'm like, man, we could do incredible things if we kept the same energy for other topics. Like, oh my goodness. I've asked some people here. I want to hear your take here. The scenario, your dog and a stranger's drowning in the water, and you can only save one. And who are you going to save? And I've put this poll up on my Twitter a few times, my Instagram, and the numbers always make me sad. I'm not gonna lie, the numbers always make me sad when I look at this retrospectively. Like it's pretty saddening. But What's your?
I mean, my dog's dead, so I don't have like a dog now to think about. But if my dog was alive, that's a hard question because my dog was like my family. Like I had my dog for let's see, probably almost like 14 years. So like I had my dog for quite some time. That was family. So that'd be a very hard decision. And I would probably, and I'll be honest, lean more towards my dog because that was like my family. A stranger is somebody I don't know. Of course, I want to save both. I want to help people. I don't want to let people die. But that is like, family. So I mean, I think it's like it's very similar to having like a family member and a stranger. And yeah, human life is extremely valuable, and I don't want people to die. I don't want people to be hurt. But if I can save my people, my dog, I'd want to do that. But that's just a hard question to answer. I mean, it's kind of it's like it's just that connection you have with a dog is it's man's best friend for a reason.
Yeah, and when I think about this, and it brings me back to even like to my faith, when it's like we were created on this earth to have dominion over the land and the sea and everything within it. And in reality, that's like we were created in God's image. So when I think of that, I'm like, people have to come first, in regards to this, and all of it, and in general, it's just like the respect for human life has been at all time lows from what I've seen currently right now, and it kind of seems to plummet when I ask this question too. It's like, dude, that's a stranger. That's somebody that has a family, most likely has parents, maybe a son, a daughter, whoever, and they mean a lot to a lot of other people. That's your dog, and I get it, and like that's a family friend and everything like that. And I love my dogs that I've had too, and spent a lot of time with them and everything like that. But it's like at the end of the day, like that's a human being, that's a person, that's that's also one of God's creations here, but like that was made in His own image, and that's why I'm like that's got to take precedent over everything else there. And I know how like it could be like, damn, like I'd be the saddest person in the world. It'd suck, but it's like doing the right thing in the heat of the moment. It's like I hope more people like I know a lot of people like no, you're saying like man that would be tough, and I understand it's like quite the conundrum. But I would hope that in the heat of the moment you'd like choose the right decision. Like you'd like
yeah, just to continue. I mean, like you said, you were playing devil's advocate. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
Yeah,
You're saying
yeah,
that's somebody's mother, that's somebody's father,
yeah,
that's
like
somebody's brother,
that's a person, man.
whatever.
Like
Yeah, that's a person.
yeah,
But what about those people that look at that person and they see like, well, that could be a bad person. That could be somebody who's a murderer or a child molester. That could be a bad person who's done bad things. Where this is my dog. I know my dog. My dog's never done anything wrong. And I'm just playing devil's advocate. That's not my actual point of view. But,
I mean, the scenario is generally like it's a stranger, so you don't know this. It could be the next coming of Adolf Hitler for all we know, but it's a human being. We don't know him, and they could go on to do terrible things. They could end up the next day robbing a lady at a liquor store and doing horrible things. But in that moment, that's a stranger, somebody you don't know. Is their life invaluable or not? And I would challenge anybody and say that it is. We don't know, but it is. Justice will come at another point in time, but while we're here, our job is to protect life, as we can. And so that's why I would say, like, yeah, that's not my call here. Be like, I'm not here to be the judge, jury, and executioner when it's like you're not going to make it. Like, no, we're not letting you go. It's it's one of those things where it's like at the end of the day, it's like, where do people like come as a priority?
Does that continue though? And I'm curious your point of view. Does that continue even once this person does something horrible? I mean, do murderers deserve the death penalty? Do they deserve to die? How does that fit in?
Different topic. I'd say it's a different discussion to have. There are people that are very extremely pro-life that don't support the death penalty. There are people that are extremely pro-life that do. And the reasonings from both, I'd say, can be fairly valid. I think it can be very valid. I'd say the biggest difference between the pro-lifers that are and aren't is because the people that are pro-life that don't want to say I shouldn't, have the right to kill somebody, or anybody shouldn't be able to kill somebody. Okay. There shouldn't have, especially then there's libertarians like the government shouldn't be able to do it. Okay. And then there's people that are, and they say, well, we're talking about protecting innocent life. We're talking about protecting an innocent baby that hasn't done anything to anybody, hasn't hurt anybody, hasn't done anything wrong, has had a chance, it hasn't even had a shot to do anything wrong yet. It hasn't committed any crimes. It's just there, and it's just trying to exist. And then there's like somebody that's uh, a brutal, sorry sack of excrement of a human being that's done horrific things to people and ruined the lives of so many others, and they're awaiting death row. And the idea is like, do we just keep paying for them in a jail cell, or do we go ahead and send them off and then let Jesus deal with them on Judgment Day? And I think there's valid cases for both of them. At the end of it, I think it comes down to, for the people that do, or like, it's innocent life or is it not innocent life? And for some people are like, regardless, I shouldn't be able to take it. And I think it's both a respectable point. But it's but for that, I mean, like, again, in the heat of the moment, it's a stranger, so you don't know. So you'd have to assume that's the whole thing. Is humanity kicks in. That's a person. Oh my gosh, they're drowning. I gotta help them. Bar none. Like, that's it. Heat of the moment, bang. That's like probably the only thing that's gonna go through your head. Hopefully, but.
And I feel like that's a point of view that was easier to have 50, 60, 70 years ago, because we weren't so super exposed to humanity. And that's what we are these days, with just the massive amounts of information that we have at our fingertips every single day. I can see the worst and the best of humanity in a snap of finger every single day. All day. I see it, when I'm scrolling, I see it on the news, I see it all the time. And I think that's why people have become so removed from humanity. We're also living in, cities with millions of people and things like that. I think people get sick of people. People see them as indispensable. You go to like these major cities like, New York City or Los Angeles, you have tens of thousands of homeless people who are basically like thrown away. You get people dying on the street. People are going to step over them. I mean, that happens in major cities all the time because you're around so many people. It's like, what is one person? And I think that's kind of goes to the loss of the viewpoint of human life being so valuable and being just a key element and that people need to take care of, but people don't see that anymore because there's just so many people. There's so many people, and we see people all over every single day, in person and also not in person.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's a fault that we have on our side of the aisle of politics. We look at people as a number. We see people as just GDP, as gross domestic product, and as far as just economic numbers and people in the workforce, rather than like human beings that probably have a family, that have people counting on them, that are just trying to make it every single day like we are in reality. And that makes it, if we just look at them as numbers, it's harder to relate to than when it comes to like actual people, I would say. Um, and a lot of people and I feel like that's why they lose a lot of people sometimes, is because they're not focused on the person aspect anymore. You know, and we talk about ending the homeless problem. People are like, oh, you're just gonna do like, bro, like, you don't have a solution either. Stop trying to act like you care. Like, you're not trying to do anything to solve this. You just keep exacerbating the problem, keep giving them drugs and needles, and just keep putting them out in the street. That doesn't solve anything. My idea, well, your idea is going to get, we're going to put them somewhere else. We're going to get them off, and they're either going to have a chance to either get help, or they're going to go probably to jail or whatever else. But you give them an option, you know. And that's another thing too, as far as free will. People they're going to have the choice if they're going to do right or do not. And if they don't, then that's their decision to do so. People have crappy circumstances that have put them in places, but I've seen incredible people come out of really crappy circumstances that have beat the odds. Not everybody does. It takes people that have real strong wills to do so. But to say that it's not possible or it's not real, that's nonsense. That's nonsense with it. I think that when it comes to humanity and looking at people for what things are, when it comes to like, uh, months ago, like a year ago, and Shannon Sharp's talking to Skip, and he's saying, I'll take $20 gas over Trump. But that's what they think of us, bro. Like, they don't care about the middle class. They say screw everybody else, man. I'll pay it because I can, and everybody else can get hosed just because I don't like this person. The utter selfishness and just lack of care. It really shows on so many people's faces with the elites, and how out of touch people are with the everyday American. And I think that's something that we've got to get back to. And that's why people found a home in populism and what was going on in 2016, because they know we were getting hosed when it came to trade, when it came to business, when it came to all of our foreign dealings, when it came to sending our troops overseas to die in foreign wars that had nothing to do with them. And so many people were just tired of it. And they were like, I want somebody that's actually going to represent me. And that's why people always campaign for, I'm representing the little guy. Everybody always wants to say it. Not too many people do it. And I think it's a winning message for the GOP generally. Like if we could actually get back to that. Humanity's huge, man. Like, and people always say, Christian, you're an extremist. The first thing I say is thank you for noticing, first of all. But also I'm like, I'm not crazy of an extremist, but I'm the nicest guy you'll ever meet, and I'll talk to you about anything. If you don't like my views, that's fine, but I can talk to you and we can have a great conversation. But we're cool. It's just different because I'm a person, man. I'm still a human here. Like goodness.
And I think that's a really important viewpoint to have, to look at people and still see them as people, even those across the aisle that despise us and, in our role, and they, we're on doing what we're doing, and we run into these people and they actually like spit at us or say that we deserve to die. I mean, I was, at an event, and this person looked at me and said, "I hope your children die in the womb." I mean, there's not much worse that you can say to a person. And they're screaming and saying these things, and they don't know me. They don't know what I actually think. And all of the things they're spouting that I believe, I'm like, I don't believe any of that. You don't know me. You don't know what I actually do believe. And, we could have that conversation and sit down and talk. But there are people who actually are filled with evil and filled with hate. And for whatever reason it may be, they look at us and they see, a literal Nazi, or they see somebody that they're fighting against an oppressor, or they're fighting against like true evil, when in reality we're just people. And everyone is, at the end of the day, a person who has feelings and emotions, and everyone's been hurt, and everyone's had good days and bad days, and everyone has a family. And I feel like if the world just kind of looked at everyone as like, that's a person, that's another person, we'd be in better times. But instead we're looked at as we're numbers, like you said, GDP. We're looked at like, oh, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're looked at as you're black, or you're white, or you're a man, or you're a woman, you're racist, you're sexist, you're xenophobic, whatever it is. They don't look at you as like you're a person. They look at you as some sort of other title. So if we could win that back over, and say like if the GOP could become the party of the people, I think they could be absolutely unstoppable. But I don't think that it's going to happen. I'm not too optimistic with the GOP, just because leadership is just dog crap. But that's really where I'm at with things. That hopefully we see some actual change coming up. I feel like we're taking baby steps. All it takes, those brave people who are standing up and doing those baby steps, to actually continue doing them. Don't falter, don't fall back, don't take the deals. We have to get these people out of office. We have to get these people out of power. We need new blood, and we need change. And that's what we need. We need what Obama promised us. We need change.
Change. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I'll wrap it up here for me. It's just in general, it's got to be a government that works for the people in general and their interests. We elected these people to do things specifically, and if they can't hold their end of the deal, we have to hold them accountable. And I think it starts now with Rana, and it starts with Kevin. Kevin's in there now. This is make it or break it, dude. Like this is it. Rana, you've had 3 shots. Goodbye, and we got to hold them accountable. And it doesn't do us any service by people in Middle America all of a sudden blaming and pointing fingers at the people that are actually trying to do right and what the people actually need and want, and blame them for the issue of them actually taking an L for the last 6 years and not wanting to change it. You know, and I think we need to do some deep inspection within ourselves here when it comes to that. Look in the mirror before we start pointing fingers when it comes to those types of things. And so, in general, here, man, I mean, I'm glad to be back. It's good to be back. We're going to be doing a whole lot more of this lately. We're going to have a whole lot more topics coming up, things to come over and comb over and to get into deeper detail on. But this is just the start of it. We're real happy to get this one underway, and we'll give more advance notice. We want everybody to come back and tune in here. So for those of y'all that are going to be tuning in on Spotify and Apple, everywhere else, we appreciate you. And like, share, and subscribe this too if you enjoyed it.